Who would have thought? I might have to do it. But let me tell you about a manga that's not even from Japan. This manga comes from a whole nother country. And might I say, it's pretty damn good. Brandino Wolfensteino. Now, if you haven't seen it on my last video of Put 'em on Thursdays, then you wouldn't know about it. I mean, it's a new segment, and I'm also a new YouTuber, so out of my 33 people that I see that I saw you new two that stepped in. High five, guys. All of my vintage people that's been here since day one. Thanks, guys. And hopefully I can get to 50 soon so I can drop this cool little thing I'm going to drop for you guys. Hope you like it. So let me tell you about this manga. Damn it, light. Called Radiant. Sorry that was such a struggle. But, of course, it'll also be in the description, a link to where you could probably read it. Radiant by Tony Valente. Which I'm hoping I'm saying his name right, because I don't know how you would say that in French. Tony Valente? I don't know. I'm not even going to try. Woooo. Anyway, now the first few pages, at least on my app, it comes out and it looks like the starting screen of like BlazBlue or something to that extent, where it's just like characters in like rectangular squares, but enough of the squares so that you can see what they kind of are. And it's like characters, cool looking characters. Radiant begins, and it's like, and it opens up with this bright page. Then it has what the chapter's gonna be. And then it opens up with this bright page of just like witches on brooms traveling however they can over this giant mass city and all of the magic of the world that just makes everything beautiful. I love me some manga that do this. Then the next page is another beautifully colored page out in the sky. You got the main characters that you'll see all the time. Your boy Seth and Mama Alma. And some dude like air swimming when they do that thing when they're falling, but they don't want to fall, so they think they can swim in the stratosphere. And then the chapter basically opens up, and they're in this I don't know if it's a floating island or if that's just like where they're at, but it's some city on top of this giant rock. Yeah, it seems to be either like a giant like pillar kind of thing that this whole town is on, or I don't know. But we got the main character, of course, in hero fashion. He's gotta be eating something. I'm telling you, I have to be a hero and so. All right, let me stop talking about myself. So he opens up and he's eating some bread or whatever, and he's like scoping the battlefield. All right, where's the first sign of Nemesis? Nemesis, by the way, is the villains that they basically fight in this whole mangaka's universe, and basically they're witches that use their power. So yeah, to defeat the Nemesis, they have to basically use, as sorcerers and witches, they have to basically use this power called Fantasia, which they have to do this symbol to kind of like make it come out. So, basically, like the kid, as you know, he's not bright. They're never bright. So he comes into this place and it's like Nemesis. So I'm like, all right, so that's what these things look like. You know, us as the reader, we're kind of dumb too because we don't know what they really look like. It's like, okay, that's what this thing looks like. He flies in and cracks this thing. I'm like, yo, my man been hitting the gym. So I'm like, oh God. So he cracks this thing, and the farmers are all sitting there like, huh? And he's like, yeah, you can thank her now for saving all of your friends and everything. And then like he starts getting hit by like rocks and everything. This kid just punched basically some cows. So I'm like, why? Why is this kid so stupid? So now then they introduce Alma. Oh, the first character was Seth. I'm sorry. Seth, apprentice, sorcerer's apprentice. Now, when I first was reading this, and I was like looking through the chapters and everything, and I was reading all the stuff, all the hijinks that was happening, on day 1 of our walk through Radiant, I didn't notice this at first. And we're going through this whole thing of where, like, you know, she's trying to buy some stuff, but she's very discerning. So if it ain't good, she's not gonna pick it up. Like that's not what she does. So she's sitting there looking through the wares, and this shopkeeper is the most animated shopkeeper I've ever seen. Ever since once she says no, he's like, "Oh, don't hurt me," and she's like, "I'm not gonna hurt you. I just want you to give me something that's good. Like, what are you doing?" So then he's like, "Well, maybe you can try this." She's like, This is trash. Don't hurt me. Like, yo, what are you saying? Like, what are you trying to do to me? So then it gets to the point where he just keeps handing her trash and then keeps doing this, and she's like, "Well, now I'm gonna take your soul." That's like a joke. But like, yo, he's taking it way too serious. He's like, "Take my wife," and she's just like this like blob of a person that kind of like that random character that just does nothing. That is basically like a pillow. She's just like, meh. And she's like, "Come on with this. I'm just trying to buy something useful. Like, what are you trying to sell me here? Like, come on, guy." So of course he's popping all this junk about how, you know, he's not gonna be treated horribly by witches and all this other stuff. And she's like laying it down like day 1. Oh, so actually, this is where she kind of does the thing. But basically, like he's kind of bad mouthing her, and she's like, 1, I don't give a shit about what you think. I don't care. 2, I'm not the kind of witch that'd be sitting here sacrificing stuff, and I'm not gonna bring you to some place to sacrifice you. So chill with all of that nonsense. And 3, if you don't sell me anything, then I'll just have to come back. And she's just trying to make a joke, because this dude's been giving her the runaround like all morning. Of course, no story, especially with a goofy hero, can ever begin without something ridiculous happening. So after they're doing that whole spiel, my man Seth coming in, like running away from the people, and then almost like, "Wait, what's happening?" And he's like, "Nothing, you know, I'm just and then like the townspeople like tackle him to the ground, and they're basically beating the crap out of him because, you know, he just punched their cows. Like, come on. So like as soon as all of this stuff happens, you know, they're basically about to beat him up, and she's trying to break up the whole fight. And she's like, "What happened?" And he's like, "This hooligan just attacked our livestock out of nowhere, and blah 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 blah." And it was like, and he just needs to be punished. And she's like, well don't like, you know, don't hit him or whatever. You know, he's a bit of a dummy, but come on, you know, let him live. And then here come this stupid store owner. I was like, oh, I want to punch this guy. He's like, this witch here trying to take everything. And it's like, as soon as he said the magic words, yo, everybody in the vicinity was like, "Witch?" So now they're like, "Oh, get out of here, you witch." And she's like, "Wait a second," douche. She gets hit by a rock. And I'm like, and it's that freeze frame, because, you know, like Seth is like, whoop. So it's like, yo, is everybody about to die? Like, yo, what's about to happen? And then she's like, "Come on, Seth, let's go." And I'm like, oh, okay. All right. She's sensible. So it's like, you know. But he's like, "No, we're going to take these guys down. Nobody hits my caretaker." And then she's like, no, stop it. And they're like, "Yeah, let's fight." She hits the magic spell and kind of like breaks up the whole fight and disperses. They go home. And Seth's especially like, yeah, why did you stop? Like, we could have easily got this. And he's like, well, what are you gonna do to a nemesis when you're not even able to master Fantasia, which is basically the magic power? And he's like, well, then I'll just beat him with brute force. I've got the strength. And it's like, kid, like, come on, there's harsher things out there that you could be dealing with. You don't have the strength yet, and clearly you're not mentally apt for this whole entire thing. So it's like, yo, just sit back, hit the books, stop punching cows. And like, even when she brings him in the house, she like hands him like a carton of like milk, and it's like, you drink this every morning. There was one of those things on the carton. I was like, oh, so it is a cow. So it's like, you drink this every morning. How did you not know that this is a cow? It's not a nemesis. Like, what are you doing? And he's like, well, as a hero, you have to make sure that you do what's best for everyone because the nemesis are bad. And she's like, well, what do the nemesis do? He's like, they destroy cities, and they mess up people's lives, and they're horrors to society. Didn't you just do that today? It's like, it rings on him like, oh my God, I'm horrible. So he's like, but I'm trying to. He's like, you can't become a proper sorceress if you're doing more damage than you're saving. Like what do you can't do it. So like, every story of the kid who's under the tutelage of some powerful master that's really trying to protect them all the time, but sometimes may need to lighten up the reins a little bit, but they gotta break the rules. So something happens in the town, and this giant egg falls, and like, all of them are basically like, the whole city's like wondering what's going on. So this gang of like traveling like witches coming, and they're like, yeah, we could save it. And I'm thinking like, might guy much? And I was like, oh gosh, this guy's gonna be ridiculous. And then they're doing this Albert and Costello thing where like the other guy's like, well, but boss, oh, don't say that stuff. Come on. So they're in the village, and they're basically like, they're about to try to stop the nemesis before it hatches or whatever. My man Seth up there sneaking out in the middle of the night, and of course Alma doesn't even realize it, but all of the noise that was happening was actually in the town. She thinking Seth over there messing around with something. She's like, you better clean that up before I get up this morning. Like, So then they basically come down. Well, Seth goes down, and he lands on top of the egg, because I'm cutting through everything, because this first chapter was like 100 pages, and I'm trying to do this quick. Seth lands on the egg. Boom. Cracks the thing open and births the nemesis. What the hell, Seth? Come on. So now they have an actual problem on their hands. All they had to do was get rid of the egg. Now they legitimately have to get rid of the nemesis. So the wizard people are like, well, get the civilians out of here. And they're like, well, how do you think you're going to move around? He's like, well, don't worry about it. Gold actually protects you from the sight of the nemesis. It's a protective metal, and they can't see past it. So the more you wear, the more, you won't be able to be seen. So I'll be able to distract them and whatever. And Seth like comes down and is like, no, this is my job. I came and messed it up. I'm gonna fix it. So then the guy's like, well, go ahead. Well, we need to get the people out of here. So everybody get the people out of here. The only place that we could probably hide is, you guys got a bank? And I'm like, I'm reading this, and I'm like, oh, this guy, he's a two-timer. And I was like, oh, he was funny, but it's like, yo, he's probably a villain. So he like takes them all the way into the bank and everything. And he's like, you got it, kid. And he's like, but I just want to give you advice. He goes, don't give me any advice. Like Seth yelling back. And he's like, no, I'm not trying to tell you how to do your job. I'm just saying, I got your back. And he's like, all right, guys, let's get out of here. He needs some room. So Seth starts fighting. This thing is basically like not doing too much, but it's just trying to like destroy stuff. Seth's trying to fight it. And of course he jumps in with a sword first, because there's like a good witchcraft or sorcery tools are, you gotta have the Fantasia glove, which is able to amplify and focus your magic. You gotta have some type of weapon. Preferably a sword. Cutting is a little better than raw, like sheer damage, but to each his own. And then you gotta have the will to put up those fisticuffs. So he's going into the battle, and they're jumping around, they're fighting the thing, and he's not winning. The first strike that he gets is with the sword, and the sword automatically breaks. So he's like, so now he's like, all right, so I'll just use the Phantasm. It starts charging. You see like all of the energy. You're like, oh, he's about to unleash up. That's it. So it's like, oh no, he doesn't have any skills. Oh. So then he gets cracked and, knocked into some stuff. And that thing is just rampaging all over the city. He happens to fall into the house with some little kid. And this kid was like, I don't touch strangers. It's like, yo, kid, this is like a terrible situation. Don't touch me, stranger. And it's like, it has, like, the chapter already has had, like, a lot of comedy, a lot of building blocks of how this manga is probably going to go about. It is, in some cases, could be considered cookie cutter, but I'm enjoying almost every page. So the kid, after the nemesis is coming out of nowhere, he gets the kid and her little brother, who he calls a little pig. He's like, you and your little pig, you guys need to get out of here. He's like, it's not a pig, it's my brother. Like, yo, that was a kid. I'm like, oh. So he sneaks him out of the house, and he goes down to the bank where everybody's at. And then I'm like, why? So the guy, basically his name, they don't really give like a good name for him. It's just, the only thing I can think is Valor Boss is what his name is. But he's part of this thing called the Bravery Quartet, which I should have said earlier, but oh well. So they're in the bank. And now remember, if you read the chapter, because I'm basically spoiling everything. But early in the chapter, some guy had his legs crushed by a boulder. This dude picked up a rock and threw it to the side to try to show that he was a hero. But now he's basically on this same guy crushing those same legs with this heavy trunk of gold. And he's like asking him all these questions and just like really menacing and everything. And you're looking at it and you're like, oh, they had to be villains. Even though you could kind of tell from the jump. Because I was looking at it, as soon as he said gold protects you from blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, really, does it? Then he was like, we need to hide out in the bank. And I'm like, oh, he's probably a villain. Now he's in the bank and he's stealing everything like right out from under these people while there's a nemesis destroying the city. So now earlier on, he was trying to relate to the kid to give him some type of hope. But when he saw like the kid was striking out big, he was just like, this kid is perfect. He's wrecking everything down. We don't got to do anything. We can steal the gold and get out. So the kid comes in and sees that these guys are just like thieving criminals. And he's like, you guys are villains? He's like, what? And he's like, well, frankly, you're a villain too. I mean, you just helped that nemesis wreck half their town. And I mean, I don't know what some kid who could barely use Phantasm correctly thinks he's going to do to a reasonably sized nemesis. And he can't even put a scratch on him. So it's like, maybe you should have stayed home, kid. Like, I don't know what's wrong with you thinking that you have the stuff. Clearly you don't. And then it's like this, then it's like that little image of like Alma in the back, like basically like somebody else is saying what she said earlier. And like, it's just like it hits him and he's just like, it's just like all of these like enlightening moments for him where he's just realizing like he rushes into things a lot. And even though annoying nag mom is constantly telling him about himself, he at some point, you got to learn on your own. Sometimes that's how it has to happen. But so he goes in and because I always say something to lead into this. So now the dude is basically laughing it up, yucking it up. And he's basically saying like, well, thanks, kid. You made our time here a little bit easier. You got us a chance to get out all the gold and tie up all the people. And look, you're even kidnapping children. You're even worse than we are. At least we left the kids behind. Like, which, frankly, that's even worse. Like, if you're going to kidnap everybody, kidnap everybody. Don't take the kids and then just be like, leave them there so they could die. Like, there's people in the building, bring the kids. Like, So he's in a bind now. Seth is struggling with some internal battles at this point, and he doesn't know what he's gonna do. Now I felt it from the moment that this dude Valor Boss started spewing out of his mouth. He needs to get cracked in his face. if Seth does not punch this dude in the mouth, please let this manga end. Because yo, we all ready to punch him. Because it's like, yo, this dude is despicable. Which we kind of can figure, like, how did this nemesis manage to land, and then they just so happen to be there in the nick of time? They probably sent it to the town. Like, the thing didn't just fall from the sky. They probably summoned it. So it was like, we see how strong Seth really is in like a nutshell. He cracked this dude dead in his mouth. He like knocked out some of his like companions and everything. He's beating up everything. And then he's about to go for the last guy, which is that dude that's always like popping junk in the back that the boss guy like hits. He goes for him. Boom! You're thinking like, okay, did he hit him that hard? No. The dude is able to use Phantasm, and he's like, "Thanks for saving my back." And it's like, if it wasn't for, you know, the fact that you probably aren't a great talker, you probably would have been the boss. And it's like, this guy is probably the goofy looking like dude that's basically pointing out all of like the flaws in the Valor boss's plan. This dude is probably the strongest one out of the whole team, possibly. So now you think the kid is down. And they're like, all right, the kid's out. The nemesis should be on its way here any moment. We need to get this gold and get up out of here. They jump onto the brooms, got their gold over the shoulder, and are like, let's move. And the nemesis just flies around the corner and is like, coming. So they're like, all right, we're out of here. So then Seth jumps up and grabs Valor Boss, like pins him back to the ground. And it's like, yo, you're not going to get away with this. So as he's like pinning him and he's got him in his like arm lock, the nemesis comes up real close, and the nemesis is able to do like a forehead beam of some sort. And it starts charging up the cannon. All the kids and everybody that's in that bank is like, yo, we are all dead. Like, we are gonna die. And like, they're like, oh God. And I guess Seth in his mind wanted to strike so much fear in Valor Boss's heart. Because it's like, yo, you just put so many people's lives in danger for your own greed. Like, what is wrong with you? At the last second, poof, my boy's using Phantasm. Now, us as a reader, you can clearly see your boy don't got no gloves on. What? So then, like, of course, the gang, like, puts it on blast. Like, did he just use a Phantasm? He's not even wearing gloves. You know, like, it's a thing that doesn't happen in this world. You have to have a glove of some sort or something that can help you manifest the power. And the fact that he was able to put up a barrier shield without the gloves, and with also his prior usage being a dud whenever whatever spell he was trying to use, it's like, yo. So then after that, you know, of course, Valor's like being the chicken that he is, he's like, all right, kid, I see you got the guts. How about you join this? And he's like, just gets cracked, yo. Seth ain't having it no more. So he looks back at the townspeople. He's like, it's because of you. You people that are so quick to judge whatever's going on that you don't even see what's in front of you. Now there's a nemesis here, which it's kind of your fault that it is there, but now there's a nemesis here. You can't even give me any type of thank you for me even protecting you from these crooks, and two, this giant creature. So it's like, the thing is like, it's pissed because I guess it couldn't get the first shot off, so it's coming. So now from the original battle, when he did brute force on it before, he saw that the nemesis is kind of like a gelatinous-esque based thing, where it can be dented, but it'll refract and come back to its normal form. So he throws Valor into the nemesis, and it bends up its face while it's like charging up this blast. He jumps in, grabs it by both of its like pieces, and like rips it up closed. Basically, this thing blows up from the inside from its own power. Everybody in the bank and everything is just like, you know, in shock, because twice they thought they were gonna die, and now like all that's left is the rubble of some people trying to steal their gold, this kid that is insanely powerful for him not even being a real sorcerer, and, you know, the city in shambles. Now, of course, in real like villain fashion, the villains are the first to get up, and they're about to take this kid with them. They're about to kidnap the shit out of him. So they got him up, and they're getting ready to go. And it's like, all right, this kid could probably do us some crazy good if we can get him to get on our side. All we gotta do is And like as soon as like that last panel comes, I'm like, yes, yes, Alma to the rescue. She comes in with the jail cell, I guess a jail cell spell, and basically like traps all of them. And then like, of course, Seth is like, okay, if I pretend to be dead, you know, I'm not gonna get in trouble. It's like if I act like I'm dead, maybe she won't see me. Like he's incredibly scared. I don't know what Alma did to put the fear of God into him, but what it's looking like. Oh, and also the fact that she's missing an arm. That was the thing I should have said earlier. But yeah, she has only one arm, and I didn't notice it until probably around this point because I'm like, well, a little early in the chapter when she was saying something, but I saw she has like a nub, so I was like, wait, does she only have one arm? And I had to like scroll back and see. Yeah, she has only one arm. But the fact that this one-armed lady has probably enough power to like strike fear into this incredibly powerful kid, yo, what is Alma packing? But at the end, like, you know, he's trying to confess, and she's like, yo, chill, dog. You actually made it today. You proved me wrong. It seems like at some point you were ready, and I've just been staving it off because I just feel like you're too stupid to learn anything, but it seems like life taught you something that you needed to learn anyway. Chill out. And then the chapter ends, and I'm like, oh, come on! It was so good! So I'm like, this might be a keeper right here. I might have to start reading this. I mean, Naruto done ended. Naruto done ended, so I'm like, you know, I need some goofy hero to kind of take his place. But this is looking like it's about to be another cool story, and it's a definite must read. And actually, what I've been hearing is that they already got a few books out in like France. Like this thing has been in publication, and it probably has a show too. Because that first couple of scenes do look like they could be like the start of like a show or like a game, like I said before. They were really well done. So I hope you like the review. Comment down here, subscribe all over here, and don't let the fact that our new hero is a bit of an idiot, but one day he might become something incredible. Maybe. Get you down, because the dawn always rises on a new day. That thing would be to subscribe. Yo. So after credit stuff, there is no last Radiant because this is the first one. So I'm gonna throw Toriko up there, Bokuno over here, Kyojin, Ansatsu, Nanatsu, Enin or Fire Brigade, and medium level on the old stomach. Check out Radiant though. It's a really good manga. I don't know if anybody's reading it yet, so hopefully somebody sees this, but, you know, maybe. Alright, catch you later.